Welcome to the Buck Stops here, the official podcast of NotInHallOfFame.com, and I'm your host, The Buck, Kirk Buchner, the owner-operator of NotInHallOfFame.com and its sister sites, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame and the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's Season 1, Episode 11 of the Hall of Fame show, where we look at all the various Hall of Fame-related news in the world of sports and music. And yes, with coronavirus all here in our face, well, there's not a whole lot to talk about. Not nearly as much as we would like for it to be. But there are always a few nuggets here and there. We look at the WWE Hall of Fame, which announced that Jushin Thunder Liger will be going into the hall. When that hall will take place, we have no idea, but hopefully they've got a plan. As for a plan, does the Basketball Hall of Fame have a plan? Normally at the Final Four, they will announce their finals, so hopefully we do. We discuss a bit of that. And we look at the world of free agency in football and a few Hall of Fame related questions. With me as always is Evan Nolan, the man from Chicago who knows a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, here's Evan. Mr. Nolan, how are things in the great city of Chicago? Hopefully everyone's keeping safe.
Yeah, everyone appears to be keeping pretty safe here. My kids have been out of school now most of this week. Fortunately, we're now in a time period where my two nieces who live right down the street and my daughter all go to elementary school. All the kids get their own iPads.
Oh, okay.
That belong to the school. And so essentially since Wednesday, the three of them have been still taking school just on iPads. So it's like they're not particularly missing any time, which is good because I have the sinking feeling they may not be going back to school this year. So
that's pretty likely. In the great nation of Barbados, they just closed the school here. So, yeah, closed all borders. Yeah. But
there's a video that was making the rounds on Twitter today of a train pulling into Union Station in Chicago with like a whole bunch of Hummers on flatbeds on it. They're like, they're preparing for a siege, and of course the National Guard's quick to say, no, we just move equipment on. A, it wasn't our train, but B, equipment gets moved around all the time. We've only activated 60 people, and like 45 of them are nurses and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, it would be weird in Chicago. Chicago, knock on wood, at the moment has not been that heavily hit, although the town of Oak Park just shut down the other day, or 2 days ago now, because they had a coronavirus person, and so they basically shut down the whole town, which is interesting. So, yeah, it's getting a little bit weird.
It is, but it's the perfect way to sort of change topics. And I'm going to start off with an apology to you.
Okay.
As your Facebook friend, I apologize that I cannot participate in your Disney challenge because with no kids, most of these movies, I have no idea what they are. And I think you should tell people how you're sort of like taking care of of having no NCAA March Madness.
Yeah, so I did this a couple years ago. A friend of mine brought up the fact that she thought that Caillou was the worst kids TV program, and it was March, so I just did a March Madness bracket of the most annoying television programs. And Caillou had a little bit of challenge on the way to the final. We got to the final, and nobody voted for who. I didn't remember what the show was. It was Caillou got every single vote at the end because Caillou is weapons grade plutonium bad. So this year, without the NCAA tournament around, I decided to do the same thing with the greatest villains in Disney history. So I went through and did a lot of research because that's how I do things. And ended up with 68. So we had 4 playing games. Although 4 playing games were for the 16 seeds, not no 11, 12 seed things like that.
I was going to ask you that actually.
No. Let's get the ones at the bottom. I'm not putting them, all in just because. And so I've been doing that right now. I just posted one right before we went on here. It was the 3 seed in Group C, Cruella de Vil against the Big Bad Wolf from the Silly Symphonies from the 1930s.
Well, I know those two.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are going to know, but the next one I'm doing tonight is Gabby Gabby from the Toy Story 4 as the 6th seed. I doubt you're going to know who that is.
Oh, no. So. Yeah, I'm sort of out on that one. That's the thing. Having no kids, there's all these references that just get so lost on me. But then so does K-pop.
Right. Well, even for me, there's I got kids and I watched Disney as a child, but there's a whole time period in there, from, say, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, I don't think I ever saw. Well, I've seen it since, but when I was a kid, that was a point that I was no longer watching Disney films. Up through, God, let's see, it had to be probably a Ratatouille was the next one. So I saw The Incredibles and I saw Toy Story, but I think Ratatouille was the next sort of Disney-ish film I saw. So there's a whole decade in there that I had to go through and and who is Brother Bear? What? I'm not quite sure what Brother Bear is still to this day, but that was where the research came in, making sure I was correct. You'll know the number one seeds.
I was just going to ask who they are.
Yeah. So here are the ranked seats. So number one. So let's just Group A. Group A is Maleficent, Hans from Frozen, Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Evelyn Dever, who is the bad guy from Incredibles 2, who has the most obvious bad guy name. I didn't know she seemed to be a good guy, but her name is Evil Endeavor. There was no question she was going to end up being the bad guy. Group B, we have Jafar, the evil queen from Snow White, Lady Tremaine, who will go up later tonight, from Cinderella, and Judge Doom, actually, from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And Group 3 is Scar from Lion King, Mother Gothel from Tangled, Cruella de Vil, and Hades from Hercules. And then Group D is Ursula, who is actually my number one seed overall. Ernesto de la Cruz from Coco, Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog, and Bellwether, the sheep from Zootopia. So there you go.
And people say there's nothing to do when you're stuck at home. It's awesome.
Yeah, you got to do something. Bellwether, is probably a little high for a lot of people, but she just wanted to start an entire either genocide or apartheid where all the carnivores were basically banished. And I think apartheid is pretty high in the list of that makes you a bad guy. So
I think anything that's sort of ending with that "ide" or "ice" or apartheid, genocide.
Yeah. Well, the other one, anything ending in "ulent" is always usually bad too. I said it. No, I can't think of it. Well, somnambulance not so bad, but succulent. There's a whole bunch of weird words in "ulent," and they're just none of them are good. Anyway, we probably should talk about sports or something.
Yeah, there's a few things that are still Hall of Fame related. One I know that's sort of not your wheelhouse, but a little bit of mine. The WWE Hall of Fame, although we don't know when it's going to be. It looks like it's not going to take place over WrestleMania weekend, which amazingly is going to go on in some capacity.
Yeah, I told you my friend signed up, or he's now one of the people who help set these things up, and he's still helping set up. So even though there aren't going to be any fans,
no, apparently it'll be in multiple venues, but all with empty arenas. I have no idea how they're doing it. I'll watch because I have nothing else to watch, so I'll be doing that. And as for when the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony will take place, according to the sister-in-law of Davey Boy Smith. That's going to be pushed back. But they did announce a new inductee. That's Jushin Thunder Liger, who you mentioned before. You're not that familiar with him. He's a Japanese wrestler.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I went and looked him up, and I saw his highlights, but I can't say I ever remember having heard his name before.
Well, you wouldn't, because he actually only ever wrestled once under a WWE umbrella, and that was for their minor league system, NXT. But who he is a light heavyweight wrestler from Japan. He's 52 now. He just retired officially on January 4th. Was it January 4th or January 5th in the Tokyo Dome. And he was one of the first guys to revolutionize high-flying wrestling. So pretty much anytime you see somebody now come off the top rope, chances are what he's doing is because he got inspired by what Jushin Liger did.
Oh, okay. I just figured it was Superfly Snuka.
Yeah, take what Snuka did and then just generate generation after that. Actually, you would know one guy, Davey Boy Smith's tag partner, the Dynamite Kid.
Yeah.
was considered sort of the guy who came after Snuka. And he feuded with a guy named Tiger Mask in Japan, who, as the name suggests, he had a tiger mask.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so Liger was actually a character from Japanese anime. And,
interesting.
Yeah, so he put on this full bodysuit in 1989, which he's kept on ever since. So even when he does commentary, he keeps the mask on. So there's not any real pictures of what he looks like without it, except for a couple times when he would take it off and his face was fully painted.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of pro wrestling and what he was as an innovative in-ring performer, he totally belongs. Barely did a thing in WWE, but whatever. The WWE Hall of Fame is kind of messed up that way in terms of there's a lot of people who did a lot there that aren't in, but I have no problem with it. I'm very happy about it. He was ranked, I want to say 28 or 29 on my last list.
Okay.
So someone who I'm very, very happy about.
Cool. I'm glad. Are they done now at this point, putting people in, or are we still going to have people trickling through?
No idea. Sometimes they have a legacy wing, and I'm kind of...
Because it's weird. Go ahead. You finish.
Well, because they usually announce a legacy wing about 2 days before, featuring a lot of people who are no longer with us. And so I usually wait until that's announced, and then that's when I begin the revisions. Right now, I'm thinking, do I just revise stuff now? Everything's out the window. I think I will. And then just have Ted, the fine webmaster from Winnipeg, shout out to you, Ted. Just remove things as we go. So I honestly don't know how else to do it.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I do have to say, I was on YouTube earlier today, just flipping through. One of the videos that came up was like WWE saying Batista's Hall of Fame reel, or a reel of his Hall of Fame career. I'm like, oh, did Batista get in? And the answer is no.
No, he did.
It's weird that the WWE official name like had Batista's like Hall of Fame worthy career highlights up there. So I was wondering if that meant he might be coming shortly.
No,
or is he not even old enough?
No, he's already been announced as a class of 2020.
Oh, he did.
I
missed that. Okay, you're right. You did say that.
Yeah, the only thing is how that's sort of going to transpire. Nobody really knows. Probably including the inductees.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think any of us know anything that's actually going on. They've postponed and canceled so many things. They said that the Premier League was originally going to open up like the 5th of April. Now it's all the way to the end of April that it's done, and who knows what's going on with all this stuff. So,
what sport do you miss most? Like, what are you most like upset that you're not going to be seeing in the next couple weeks or the last 2 weeks?
Probably. So, I mean, on a selfish point here, I mean, both the Celtics and Bruins are really good, but the Bruins are super good.
Mm-hmm.
They already even hit 100 points, and the the Red Wings haven't even hit 50 yet. So that's not so good for them. But anyway, so the Bruins hit 100 points. They're a super good team. So I'd probably miss the Bruins in general, and therefore hockey more than basketball at the moment. Baseball, we're still in spring training, so there's not much to miss there. And the Red Sox traded their best player, and their second best player announced today that he needs Tommy John surgery. Is going to be out for the whole season.
That's
Chris
true.
Sale.
Chris Sale, yeah, I saw that this morning. Good time to do
it. Yeah, might as well. I mean, they may have like it may be an 81 game season. Who knows? By the time this is all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
So, So I think more than anything, probably it's hockey right now. What about you?
Basketball. The Raptors were doing pretty good. I don't think they were going to like repeat as champions, but they may be denied. Well, of course, we don't know. That hopefully it's going to go on. They may be denied the opportunity to defend that title, and just the growth of Pascal Siakam as a player and as a leader has been incredible and a lot of fun to watch. But right now, March Madness, because I'm also in this first position ever in my life where I can watch all of it from beginning to end and not have to worry about other employment. So
right, because this is actually the day not counting the games in Dayton.
Right.
This is really the day that the tournament begins. I'd completely forgotten that, but that would have been today.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm sort of jonesing out the most, because I was also watching some of even the right before everything sort of like went to hell. Like even those early qualifying, like ACC first round crap. I think we were joking about how like Boston College got eliminated already.
Yeah, but Boston College got to complete their season, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about. So.
Well, obviously I have no idea.
And so did my alma mater of the American University. We were the number 2 seed in the Patriot League and lost in the first round to, I believe, a 9-18 Boston University. So
yeah, that's what was the other one? Champions League.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, of course, yeah, Champions League, but
yeah. So those are the ones that I'm really missing.
And I hope the EPL comes back, because if Sheffield United doesn't get to go to the European stuff because they played one fewer game than everybody else, that's going to suck.
Oh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because Sheffield United's played one fewer game, and if they win that game with the same number, they pass both Man United and Wolves. And so they would be in the spot that would actually keep them just out, they'd be the last spot for Europe. And then since Man City is not probably going to be able to play, they'd actually move up into the Champions League, and Man U would move into that last European spot.
I should know this, Evan, but I don't. If you win the Europa, do you automatically qualify for that the following year if you don't qualify for the Champions League?
I actually don't know.
Okay,
that's a good thing to look up.
All right, we'll look that up for next week because we'll have the time.
Yeah.
So one thing, sort of like we talked about, sort of like the NCAA, that always sort of culminates. That's a word. To the Final Four, and that weekend is when they announced the Basketball Hall of Fame not finalists, the inductees, which hopefully they're going to go ahead and do. Unless there's any reason why they wouldn't. So this is sort of my hope and my shouts and prayer to the Basketball Hall of Fame. Please give us something to talk about in 2 weeks.
Yes, that would be excellent. And there's no good reason for them not to. They're going to miss the spectacle of it, but they're going to miss the spectacle of it anyway. I mean, even if they somehow wanted to delay it to the NBA Finals, when are those? I don't know if you saw, actually, I don't know if it was the NHL or the NHLPA put out something where they're talking about how they could complete the season, even if everything was out through June. So basically having a sort of mini training camp at the beginning of July, starting hockey up again in July, which would be interesting in Florida and Arizona and Dallas and places like that, playing through and starting the playoffs in September, playing then through October, and then starting the new season basically right before Thanksgiving. So it'd be like a 4 or 5 week break before the next season starts.
I'd be down for that. It's something that basketball, I guess, couldn't do because if the Olympics go ahead. Because a lot
well, that's the other question.
Yeah.
I'll have you know, sadly, we talked about last week, the Olympic torch relay has paused. So...
I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I am.
It made it to Sunday because we can record this on Thursday.
Yeah.
It made it to Sunday, and then they shut it down. So, yeah, it was sad. What can I say? It was a big news of the week last week, but yeah.
I feel like right now Japanese officials are like Vince McMahon, just waiting to the last possible minute until they're told to shut it down.
Yeah. Well, I think they're already moving Euro 2020 to 2021. So that's the other big thing this summer, or at least internationally, unless you care about rugby sevens. Or the thing I know, have you made the rounds yet and seen a guy who I've been following on on YouTube for years? The guy in the Netherlands who goes by the name of Gel or Jelle. I don't know how you say it in Dutch, but he does marble runs. And one of his races from like 3 years ago has been making the rounds all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over everything. And he's picked up like 50,000 followers on YouTube in like the last 3 days.
I'm definitely not up on my Dutch. My Dutch runners, is it?
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm excited for it that he's getting this because it's super well done, and I care way too much about one of the teams in the marble. Well, it used to be the Marble Olympics, and now it's like the Marble Games. Now he's in Marbula One. So I
love it.
Yeah, so they're up to the 7th course is coming up this weekend. But I am a massive Rangers fan. Those are the orange marbles. To the point where I may actually buy a shirt. So we will at least have, if you need something to fill your racing love, check out the marble runs this weekend for Yella. So they're fantastically done. There's qualifying on Saturday and then the actual race on Sunday.
Maybe they should come up with like on ESPN the Ocho, like virtual tic-tac-toe or something, or like paper, rock, and scissors. So they did the Joking Ocho last fall, and they actually did one of his races on it, and it's going to be rebroadcast on Sunday on ESPN2. So you can actually check it out there. I'm down. I'll definitely be watching that.
Yeah, pick a team. You just can't pick the Rangers. We need to have a friendly rival. You want to be a Savage Speeders, a Team Momo, Team Primary, Thunderbolts. That's fine. But I got the Rangers. So.
Sounds good. And I've come up with another beer bet for you.
Ooh, good. All
right. So, because I wanted just a few few things regarding the National Football League. I did a show earlier with Vinny, who wanted to talk about the free agency changes, and but I've got to ask. Tom Brady might be in that alternate creamsicle uniform if they go that route. That is. And you gave me crap when I said dynasty over. Can I now say dynasty over?
No, Bill Belichick is there. I mean, if they have a down year and come right back, is the dynasty over?
No. Well, yeah. You're right. I'd agree with that.
So, see, I mean, they're adding an extra playoff team this year, right? I still think Bill Belichick with that team and whoever ends up being quarterback, I think it's going to be Stidham. Although, wait, I'm sorry, it actually just came over the lines here. The Patriots just traded Nick Folk, a conditional 7th-round pick, and the rights to Antonio Brown to the Houston Texans for Deshaun Watson and 2 future firsts. So Bill O'Brien just doing his great job as a GM down there for the Texans. No, sorry, that was bad.
Kidding, that was fantastic. Any other team you don't believe? I would totally believe that. Oh my god!
No, I honestly think the Patriots, now that they didn't get Brady, their cap situation is not great, and it's interesting because there's now, I don't know if you saw, Flacco got released today.
Yes, I did see that.
And Derek Carr and Andy Dalton are not released, but they're both imminently available, as is Cam Newton. And I don't think the Patriots can go get any of them. If the Pats make a trade for another quarterback, I think it's likely to be Jacoby Brissett get him back from the Colts. He's only got 1 year and $15 million left on his contract. He's familiar with the system.
And the Colts just got a quarterback. Yep.
Yeah. So they got Rivers there. They might. They're not. Why are you paying your backup quarterback $15 million even for only 1 year? So I don't think they're going to take any of those guys. So there's going to be. I can predict now they're going to re-sign Stephon Gilmore for a lot of money coming up here because it's going to lower his cap number significantly. But they're kind of hamstrung on what they can do here. Mm-hmm. If Cam Newton gets cut, they might sign him then. But there's no way Jameis Winston's going to end up in New England either. So it's interesting. They may just go with Stidham and then use the 23rd pick on, I don't know. I mean, that might be early for Jalen Hurts, but somebody like that. The guy from Oregon, what's his name? Herbert? Hebert? I don't actually know how it's pronounced.
Yeah,
I don't really watch college football that much.
Yeah.
I've seen him fall to the Pats in a couple of drafts. But it would surprise me end up with using like a third, trading the first and getting like 2 seconds somehow, and then using one of those on a quarterback or using a third on a quarterback because they've got like now 6 third-round picks or something stupid, and going from there. But my guess is right now the opening day quarterback for the New England Patriots is Jarrett Stidham.
Okay, so
here's a little different than
it's a lot different.
But I mean, but the last time we started a second-year quarterback, it worked out. So
yes,
for 20 years,
yes, and
Stidham is clearly 2 rounds better than Brady. So
well, I'm very stupid for presenting this wager then.
What's the wager? My favorite part about Brady leaving, and again, it's killing me inside. I'm trying to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite part about Brady leaving is Brady is a noodle arm quarterback who's a product of the system, but his leaving completely destroys any chance the Patriots ever have.
Yes, Tom Brady's obituary has been written many, many times.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The offensive line wasn't great last year. The weapons weren't great. The weapons have not been upgraded. The defense is worse, although I did like picking up the safety from the Chargers today, Adrian Phillips. That was a pretty good pickup. He's a lot cheaper than Duron Harmon, and basically replaces Harmon and Nate Ebner, who they lost both of them. But yeah, there's the Pats will be fine. It may be a down year. They might end up with the 6 or 7 seed. I think you're going to have your division champions be the Buffalo Bills, which is hilarious.
Which was going to be my wager. I was going to propose New England does not win the division.
I'll take the Pats for that. That's fine.
So if you take the Pats, this means I got the other 3 teams. Well, 2 teams and then the Jets.
You 2 teams in the Jets.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll take that bet. Sure, why not?
Wasn't that an Elton John song? 2 teams, and the Jets. No, okay.
Yeah, it's close. The Dolphins. The Dolphins got better. Yeah, it's funny. If the Pats made a trade for the Texans' first-round pick that I joked about earlier,
mm-hmm.
I could tell you that I would also be able to announce that the Lions and Dolphins have already scheduled a duel for 2024 to sign that guy after he's not picked up by the Patriots for a second contract. So I swear there are more former Patriots on the Dolphins and Lions than there are actually Patriots on the Patriots. So I think the Dolphins are now up to 11, and the Lions have 10 former Patriots on their rosters right now.
Yeah, see,
crazy.
You touched it on Bill O'Brien. I can't make heads or tails of that trade from a Houston point of view. What is there something that I'm missing completely, or is he just lost his mind?
Well, I mean, you have to ask whether. First of all, he's not a good GM, regardless of this. Secondly, you have to ask yourselves whether he would have been better off keeping. Oh my God, his name just flipped right out of my head.
Oh, DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, thank you. Just evaporated for a second. And just waiting for Todd Gurley to get cut today, and would they be in a better position? Or whether he's really that big a jerk, because DeAndre Hopkins is not, as far as we know, ruffled any feathers. And that story that Michael Irvin told, that to his credit, Hopkins downplayed, though, but saying that he said the last time he had to have a conversation with a player like he was having with Hopkins was when he talked to Aaron Hernandez. Did you hear the story?
I did. Came up today too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for when inevitably Deshaun Watson gets moved, and he's like, yeah, last time I had to deal with someone like that, it was when it was a college reporter and went in to interview Charles Manson in jail. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, he's got too many baby mamas. Okay, welcome to the NFL. Tom Brady has a goddamn baby mama. So, hey, I have no explanation. It doesn't make sense. They said it was a cap move, but they traded a guy who had a $12.5 million cap hit and ended up with a guy who had an $11.5 million cap hit. So it's clearly not that. They got a second-round draft pick out of it. Okay, I guess that's good. But, I mean...
But they even gave up a fourth rounder just for another fourth rounder.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't do the deal unless you swap fourth round picks. So
I can't even come up with the best analogy of how idiotic this sounds, and I keep thinking, like, is there something I just don't get? Did DeAndre Hopkins lose a limb?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they traded DeAndre Hopkins and Clowney and ended up with 0 first-round picks out of it.
If I'm Deshaun Watson, how pissed are you?
Oh, you're pretty fucking pissed. You should be. You should be pissed at him anyway. That dude, if he were on Kansas City, he's doing amazing as he is on that Texas team. But if he's on Kansas City, that team is as good, if not better, than it is with Mahomes. Like, he just hasn't had the chance to show that because he's basically having to do this whole thing on his own.
Mm-hmm.
You put Deshaun Watson in San Francisco for that Super Bowl. I think San Francisco wins. I think San Francisco, if Deshaun Watson beats Mahomes and that Kansas City team. And, I think the Kansas City team the year before that the Patriots beat was better than the Kansas City team that just won the Super Bowl.
Kyler Murray hasn't stopped dancing.
Yeah.
I can't, for the life of me, make heads or tails of this.
Mm-mm.
Other than it's just someone being completely idiotic. I think I'm trying to think of what was the dumbest trade I ever remember. It's kind of an obscure one where the Raptors were trying to get rid of Andrea Bargnani, and they actually got a taker in the Knicks. They actually gave him stuff back. I mean, like they would have unloaded Bargnani for a can of spaghetti.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of some lopsided trades. As a Red Sox fan, still one of my favorite trades is when we sent Heathcliff Slocum to Seattle for Derek Lowe and Jason Varitek. That was a pretty good trade. But even at the time, I don't think we knew that Varitek and Lowe were going to end up being not Hall of Famers, but like top 90% players in the league for a guy who had a cool name and a very bad slider. But yeah, I'm trying to think of trades that don't involve Ted Stepien. Honestly, they should put a Ted Stepien rule in for the Texans. Because when they first announced that trade and they said that Arizona traded Johnson to the Texans, my first reaction was, what draft picks do they have left to trade? The answer was the first round draft pick from 4 years ago is what they had to trade. So I don't know. Bill O'Brien is a okay football coach. I would say he's slightly above average, but as a general manager, he is poor, so for lack of a better word.
So I'm going to bounce off a couple things that's based on the free agency that sort of happened, Hall of Fame related. Vinny and I talked about this, but we didn't I didn't ask him this question. Phillip Rivers is now a Colt. What does Phillip Rivers need to do to put himself firmly in that Hall of Fame discussion?
Make an AFC Championship game at least with his team on his first year, minimum. If he can make the Super Bowl, I think he's in, even if he loses.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think that Rivers is an interesting case. Just his yards are very, very high. I don't think moving to a second franchise at this point matters. Even if he was at the Colts for a year and ended up in, I don't know, Jacksonville for a year, and then retired, I don't think that really hurts him significantly. But he's going to be an interesting case. We had this conversation before about Eli Manning.
Right.
Like, eventually all these guys with all these yards are going to retire. Brady's got 2 years in creamsicle, and then who he wants to play one more by his own numbers because he'd be 43 this season, 44 next year, and he said he wants to play until he's 45. So say he's gone in 3 years. Brees has signed a 2-year deal. I think he's maybe done at the end of that.
I'd say so.
Congratulations, by the way, on getting him back. That was really pretty cool.
Oh, it was awesome. I didn't think that was going to be the first quarterback domino to fall, though.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he said, though, like, I'm not going anywhere else. So, and they came up with a deal that made sense for him. So, but, I mean, Rodgers, I don't think Rodgers likes football all that much. He doesn't seem to. So I'm not sure how much longer he's going to stick around. And so you're just going to have all these guys who are all going to be retiring essentially about the same time. And then what do you do? I mean, Rivers is right there. So Roethlisberger, I don't even know if Roethlisberger is going to play.
There's a good chance.
Allegedly he is. Yeah, allegedly he is, but and the Steelers haven't made any moves to the contrary to shore that up. I mean, there's no reason, there's no rush for them at this point because the only teams that are looking at quarterbacks right now are the Patriots and maybe the Broncos. Maybe.
And there's so many quarterbacks out there right now, too.
There's so many quarterbacks out there. I mean, better question is, what does it say about Cam Newton's Hall of Fame career? And I understand he's gotten injured, but he has an MVP and he's been to a Super Bowl. If he gets enough yards up there, what's it say about his career if we go through a whole free agency period and nobody signs him?
I'm sort of gobsmacked, actually, on just how the Panthers have been treating Cam. I know that the perception of him in the Carolina area hasn't been as good after he lost that Super Bowl. And yeah, he had a bit of a mini temper tantrum, but I think he was entitled. You know, you're going to catch someone at their worst.
Right, and he gets a lot of crap for that tirade after not diving for the fumble. Like actively backing away from the fumble during the game. And then talking about how we needed a bigger will to win. And everyone's like, well, you could have dove on the football. So yeah, I don't know what it says about him either. I'm not going to talk to you about Jameis Winston's potential as a Hall of Famer because that ain't.
No, it's not. But it's got to be the first time, and maybe it'll be the only time ever in NFL history where you're going to have somebody who threw for 5,000 yards, and the team couldn't wait to get rid of him, and no one had a problem with it.
Yeah. So it's weird. I mean, they had that NFL top 100 players, and 4 years ago now? Mm-hmm. He was the number one player in the NFL. And now he's completely expendable, and nobody appears to be looking to trade for him.
Yeah, Vinny brought up a pretty good point now with Brees there. So you've got 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the NFC South, and to do that, you got rid of 2 Heisman winners who were supposed to be the future of that.
Wow. And Teddy Bridgewater. So there you go.
Well, I like Bridgewater. I like what he did this year.
I like Bridgewater too.
I'm happy for his opportunity. I'm just still. I don't think he's a better quarterback than Cam Newton. He's not. Unless Newton is way more hurt than we realize.
Yeah, actually, if Brady was going to leave, Bridgewater was the guy I wanted in with the Patriots because A, I figured the contract wouldn't be nuts, and B, it'd be fun to see what Belichick did with a running quarterback. Mm-hmm. But yeah, good for him getting the opportunity. A fun thing though with Brady going to Tampa is Brady plays Breeze twice. Yep. He plays Matt Ryan twice. He plays Mahomes again because they play Kansas City this year. And he plays who's the other? There's another really good quarterback. I don't know if he plays Russell Wilson or not, but he plays Rodgers again. Mm-hmm. Mm. So we thought we may never see Breeze Brady again, or Rodgers Brady again, or Ryan Brady again, and we're going to see pretty much all of them. So, which is actually pretty cool.
No, it's very cool. I'm still sort of again stunned because I just remember feeling like, oh my god, I got 2 Heismans in my division.
Now you got 2 Hall of Famers in your division.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's crazy.
I think Brady just thought that TB stood for Tom Brady, and he got confused.
Well, if he brings him a Super Bowl, it will.
that may entirely be true.
Yeah.
So it's just I couldn't believe. I said to my friends, because we were talking about this, what's going to happen with Brady, and I said if the Chargers had a better stadium situation, I thought he would already have signed there. But I just never thought he'd actually go to Tampa.
No, I didn't even realize they were in the conversation.
The winningest quarterback of all time by percentage is going to the losingest franchise of all time by percentage.
Something's got to give.
Brady's winning percentage is, I think, 767. I'm doing it off my head, so I'm close. It's 76.7% of the games Brady has started, he's won. And that includes 2 games he lost in week 17 where he played a quarter and sack. The Tampa's winning percentage over all time, I believe, is 366. So together, they're just over 100%.
Well, it's going to be interesting no matter what. Obviously, they're going to schedule a lot more Tampa Bay games for Sunday night.
Yeah. Oh, and the Patriots, as a Pats fan, I'm going to get a lot more 1:00 Sunday games, which will be nice. Except for the fact we're going to be getting way too much Stan Fouts. That's a bad thing.
Who do you think is worse, Stan Fouts or Troy Aikman?
I'll take Troy Aikman every time over Dan Fouts.
See, I'm the opposite. I think Aikman's just the absolute worst announcer, maybe because he just seems to be in every game I watch.
Yeah, well, he's around more, that is true. But it used to be when the Patriots were only okay, we'd get Jerry Glanville a lot as our other guy. As usually like Ian Eagle and Jerry Glanville. And I always enjoyed those games because Glanville wasn't great, but he was at least entertaining. Neither Fouts nor Aikman are particularly good, and neither of them are entertaining.
When the Saints were in limbo, I pretty much heard Kenny Albert's voice so many times.
Mm.
Isn't the worst. It's not the worst thing. Somebody made a comment on Twitter. It might have been you. That Tony Romo signed his new deal as a commentator is worth more than what Jerry Jones purchased the Cowboys for.
Oh, I did not mention that, but that's kind of hilarious.
Isn't it, though? I mean, like 2 years ago with all the concussion stuff, we thought football was dying. Guess not.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, wow, that's amazing. I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. So here's my challenge to you for next week, providing that there's nothing to necessarily talk about. Let's go with the premise, because I think NBA is far more likely to not come back with the Olympic situation if the Olympics do come back. Also because there's more people who tested positive in the NBA than the NHL, which I believe was just one. And of course, it's an Ottawa Senator.
Right. Well, I mean, today, though, they announced Marcus Smart of Celtics tested positive and 2 Lakers tested positive.
Oh, Sean Payton, too.
Sean Payton tested positive, yeah. And 2 members of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, so I mean, at least we're keeping it even.
True, but he's a Democrat from Utah. Is that even a Democrat? I'm not even sure. So...
Nice. So here's my challenge. I want you to come up with 5 NBA players, if the season's completely wiped out, who were affected most in terms of their Hall of Fame.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of their Hall of Fame wiped out, having this season wiped out, how it affects them.
How it affects their Hall of Fame candidacy.
I have one person spring to mind right away, although I don't know how much it makes a difference.
Keep it in your mind, though.
Okay.
Come up with 5. I'm going to come up with 5. We'll see if they overlap.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, the one I just came up with, actually, now that I think about it, it's probably going to be a first ballot anyway, but...
I mean, it's just whether it hurts it a little bit, or pushes things back.
Yeah. Okay. I can do that. I can come up with 5.
All right. Sounds good.
So.
And with that, stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you next week.
Excellent, man. Take care, and careful of the wilds of Barbados. I hear that coronavirus is still spreading there, too. So
we've 5 cases. It's here.
Good luck.
All right, thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening, and hopefully next week we'll have a little bit more to talk about. Of course, it's the sports and Hall of Fame world, and there's always something we can crowbar in. Thanks so much, and check us out next week.